but really, how can you focus on developing the career of your team members as well? I think a good leader actually mentors people to grow into their position, right? As a leader, you don't think, oh, you know what, if my team member uh, knows more than me, then I may become redundant. I don't think.
Hello, guys, welcome back to another mind blowing episode of the Jay Thakkar Show. We have today Miss Maya Venkatesh, Head of Affinity Answers for Asia Pacific, and is multifaceted leader. She has experience of leadership for more than 25 years, as she had done various leadership roles. She has handled India's operation on premier MNCs such as Symphony Services, Fords, and many more. She also mentors women to grow into leadership through her association with Jobs for Her. And she's currently heading the APAC operations for Affinity Answers and is also responsible for business development of these growth in market. So I'm really honored to have you on the show, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Jay, for that lovely introduction. And it's a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. So sweet of you. So, ma'am, please tell us about your whole journey of life from leading to companies like Ford and now coming to APAC. How has that journey been for you?
Yeah, it's been a long journey, close to 25 years plus that I've been working. Started off as a, cost accountant, managing financial operations, have worked in a diverse range of domains, got into my software development, career, I would say, started with Symphony Services. Prior to that, I've worked with Ford Motor Company, Accenture, heading operations for customer service, financial accounting, travel and expense businesses. With me joining Symphony Services, I really started learning more about technology and how technology can really enhance your work. And of course, it being a growing space, it paved the way for me to become really somebody handling multiple things and getting into leadership positions, doing business unit management across three business units. I did also head the India operations for a Nasdaq listed company called Tango, and then progressed along the way and joined Affinity Answers. Affinity Answers, is a data solutions and services company that standardizes and operationalizes diverse data sets. And these data sets really capture human behavior. So I've been with Affinity Answers for 3 years now. I handle, the APAC operations. I'm the managing director. I'm as well on their board of directors for India as well. And it's been a great journey. Again, a new space, marketing and advertising, and catering to that space with our programmatic solutions. So that's really, a summary of my journey and leadership career, and looking to constantly learn more and also assist other women who aspire to grow into leadership roles. Why only women? I mean, I'm sure a lot of youngsters like you as well, who are obviously doing a great job at this age, and I'm sure will scale great heights.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. So, before jumping into the major questions, like recently, just before recording this session, I took a session on leadership only, on an application called Scenes by Avalon, where we do live sessions with people. So there I did a session on leadership, and I would just like to get your opinion on exact leadership, because I feel you being experienced for more than 25 years in and leading millions and millions of people. So I think your suggestion on those points would be much more valuable for me. So these points which I addressed to people were, firstly is that whatever work the leader might be doing, but the basic essence for the leader is to add value. E- Let it be to the people who that person is leading, and also to the company he or she is working for. It is not only limited to the people he or she is leading, it is also to the upper hierarchy of the company for which he or she is working. So leader adds value to the whole vertical from their position. So that's the one point. And another point is that leader has the quality of listening and taking feedback. And it is majorly because, for example, if a leader inputted the value of, let's say, 2000 rupees to the person, now leader also needs to understand that the person whom I am giving the value of rupees 2000, is that person perceiving it, that pink paper, as rupees 2000, or just taking it as pink paper and vanishing. So for that feedback, and to understand that the other person have actually taken the value and implemented it, the leader also should be having the quality of listening. Because whatever problem the person or the organization or the community of people is facing is majorly of is majorly the, when they say the problem, the actual problem comes at the end of it. So leader has to listen the whole thing to understand what exact problem they are trying to say. And the other part is that he or she should be capable enough in terms of providing good solution, and he or she should not be leveraging, he or s- um, he or she should not be leveraging that, okay, I have these people, so these people will say on what I this people will work on what I say, so I'll take leverage on them. Either the leader should be creating opportunities rather than running behind the opportunities. Like I got this question from one of my friend that, leader hai to unko to bada stage chahiye na for more people. And I said to him that leader don't run behind opportunities, they create opportunities by providing value. लीडर कभी ये नहीं बोलेगा कि मुझे 1 मिलियन पीपल लाके दो या एक बड़ा स्टेज लाके दो ताकि मैं आपको वैल्यू ऐड कर पाऊं. लीडर आपको इतनी वैल्यू देगा या देंगी ताकि आप 1000 लोगों को गैदर कर लो और उनके लिए एक स्टेज बनाओ कि आपने मुझे अच्छी वैल्यू दी, अब इनको भी वैल्यू दो. सो लाइक आई वांट टू टेक योर एडवाइस.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know what? I believe in, think like a leader and you will become one. Okay. And that's what I encourage in my teams. Okay. I've managed, yes, like you said, I've managed large teams, up to 500, 600 people. I have also managed small teams, like right now, Affinity Answers. We are obviously a smaller team. We are, of completely niche data engineers, right? So, there are people in customer service I've managed. There are people in, operations, payables, data science, R&D teams. I think you really need to understand, how your team works. What is it that motivates them, right? So it's not about, okay, I'm paying you this salary, and so you need to, give your output for that. I don't think in today's modern world it really works like that, right? There is
True.
really no bureaucracy which you see, at
True.
least because of the MNC culture as well coming in, right? So I think leaders should grow with the team. So it's not like we look for a podium. So right now, I am on a podium, right? I'm talking to you, but this is more to kind of share about what we do as a team, right? So rather portraying the good work that my team does and services various clients. So definitely it's not about just handing over, like you said, a pink paper of okay, this is what I'm paying you and this is the value you need to bring, but really how can you focus on developing the career of your team members as well. I think a good leader actually mentors people to grow into their position, right? As a leader, you don't think, oh, you know what, if my team member knows more than me, then I may become redundant. I don't think so. I think as a leader, and you're constantly learning, right? There are a lot of things, that I learned from my team members as well. When I joined Affinity Answers, I had absolutely no clue on the marketing and advertising domain, right? My initial 6 months was learning, from my team around me. And when, like you said, listening is very, very important, right? Only if you listen, you can provide that empathy which an employee wants, your team member wants, right? So it need not always be only about work. A lot of the time, you kind of sense that your team member is probably troubled, going through, maybe, some troubled situation. How do you really be intuitive and understand that? How do you, really help them also to grow through that phase, right? I mean, there are several young moms who come to work, obviously they feel upset about leaving their baby. They come and tell you, oh, you know what, I'm like really torn between, should I, continue working, or am I really doing justice? So what is the right, advice, or rather, I don't think it's a solution, because solution is something which every person evolves on their own. You only give them a path towards a solution. The other thing I think is important for people to grow in their career is that if you're going to your manager with a problem, right? I always tell my leads and managers, when you're coming with a problem, think through it and also propose solutions, right? So then when the solution becomes an inclusive one where they are also participating, then it is not about, oh, you know what, my leader just gives me directions and I follow them, right? But you are part of the solution, right? So I think these are very important characteristics that will help you grow into leadership positions. Always be open to learning, be empathetic towards your team, be assertive where it's needed, right? Because at the end of it, you have to run a business, right? And
True.
every employee understands that okay, we are running a business, we are doing this for revenue, and all of our goals should be common. I mean, we are working towards a common goal. So I think, yeah, that's my view on this, Jay.
True, true, man. Absolutely beautiful. And talking about the solution and direction thing, uh, majorly because I'm doing problem solving on different platforms as well. So generally, people come to me and they say that give me a pinpoint solution, and I'm like, I cannot always give you a pinpoint solution, is because that I don't have the experiences you have. I don't know the kind of atmosphere you live in, and I don't know your perception. I can only get from whatever you say and how you describe your problem, and from that input, I have to provide you solution. So, what can I help you with? I can help you with, like, I'll give a little bit context of, let's say, Google Map. So I can help you with on how to get more clarity to see your destination. I can help you with how to see yourself and how to grasp your own location where you are standing in. And then I can also help you with which direction to go in. Rest, you can ask world for the direction of road. Either you can create your own road. That road and path is completely dependent on you, and it will be as unique as your own experiences, because no one else knows how you perceive your experiences. So on basis of that, I can provide you with these much data where you at least know I have to go west, east, or north. And rest, I think you are capable enough to make your own path or ask the world for the path which they have already made for you.
Absolutely. So, you know what, as you said this, I was thinking, 30 years back, rather, I think 35 years back when I graduated, right? At that time, it was primarily people would go into, science or arts. I mean, the excellent students would go for engineering or medical, and everybody else, would go for arts. I was a very good student at school. I mean, I've always been a topper in my academics, right? And you know what? But I never liked science. I was like, okay, because I don't like science, should I go into arts? And there was this stream called commerce, which, people who did not do at all well, right? Who were like the bottom uh, ones in class, or who were like or typically the people who had family businesses, that they said, okay, you know what, bcom kar lenge and chalo dukaan pe baith jayenge, or something like that, right? And that really interested me. I said, you know what, I like numbers, I don't like science, I like maths. Okay.
Mhm.
And I did very well in economics. I had that, as a additional subject in school. So I said, why not commerce? And when I told this to my parents, right, their initial reaction, of course, oh, why do you want to take commerce? I mean, you've scored so high in your 10th results, and why would you want to do that? So I actually said, no, I think that this is the right path that I want to choose. Okay. And I was, a batch used to have about 220 students. There were 219 boys and one girl, that was me. Okay. Because girls never chose commerce at that time. And they would be like, oh my God, how will you even go to college? And that time it was in college, plus two was not in school, right? But my parents had the confidence in me that I would choose what is right, or rather, they allowed me to choose what I wanted to do, right? So, like you said, it's you have to choose your path. Today, I chose commerce, and as I look back after 30 years, I think I've had a great career, right? And maybe as good as my friends who chose science, who did engineering or medical, right? Or sometimes even better. So, yeah, definitely people can provide direction, right? When you're young, your parents provide you direction. As you get into a career, you look at mentors within your organization, you look at peers, right? You always find people who will, share with you what their thoughts are. You get influenced by them as well, in a positive manner, right? But at the end of it, the decision is yours, right?
Hmm.
Now, like you said, a Google Map will show you the direction, will show you how much time it will take, but for you to plan how you're going to get there is something that you have to draw a roadmap for yourself.
Hmm.
And if you draw that roadmap early enough in life, there will be success. Let me tell you, along the road you will find people who will propel you towards that success. So over these 30 years, yeah, even I have had mentors, I've had good managers whom I've worked with, who have really helped propel my success, right? So yeah, definitely what you're doing is right. You are providing the directions, you're providing guidelines, right? But ultimately, the roadmap has to be drawn by the individual themselves. That is when there will even be a belief in it. If somebody is giving me
Yeah.
a solution, say, Jay tells me that, you know what, this is how you should speak on my show, right? That's just a guideline. But at the end of it, what I speak is what I decide, right? And I want to speak what which is relevant to the topic. So I have to plan it. I have to decide what it is. So similarly, you can provide direction, you can provide guidance, but the ultimate solution is something which the individual decides. Only then they will believe in that decision, they will believe in that path, they will also strive towards achieving something on that path.
True, true,
Hope that
100%.
answers.
100%, ma'am, 100%. So, coming to the roadmap of Affinity, so tell us about Affinity on, like you said, you are a core team of digital marketing experts. So, like, how do you understand the digital space, the social media space?
Absolutely. So Affinity Answers, right? We've been in existence for 10 plus years, a completely bootstrapped company. Started off in North America, evolved into the European markets, and now in APAC for the last 3 years, right? So we are a real global company. What we believe is that behavior is the mirror in which everyone shows their true image. Okay, and that's what we study. We really study human behavior. We look to source and combine data sets that capture human behavior to help marketers understand human behavior, track their customers, and also target them effectively. Our clients are across, a range of industries. We work with brands as well as agencies. We really, how do we help these marketers? We answer human questions and we help the brand grow. Right? Now, you said, what is our roadmap? Okay, so
Yeah.
we are a pretty large, data provider in the US and in Europe. We have really established our presence in the APAC region in the last 3 years. We work with major clients like, major agencies like, Dentsu. We work with, iProspect. We work with, PhD Media, brands like HSBC, Kohler, a sanitary wear brand. So we really have a great clientele. And how do we really, have this great clientele? Because obviously, our solution is really unique. So in terms of offerings, if I talk about what are, Affinity Answers offerings, we have 4 offerings. Affinity On Track, which is more like, understanding the preferences of your customers, being able to track their behavior and accordingly help marketers take decisions regarding them. In case, for example, you take a restaurant and they want to launch a new item on their menu, right? How receptive will the people visiting that restaurant really be to this new dish? Is it going to be really, the young millennials who are going to be attracted towards that dish? Or is it going to sell more among probably, the older folks, right? So that's on track for you. Affinity Target, again, we are the largest social data provider who provide social engagement based audiences that help marketers to target very effectively. I mean, get very high relevance without compromising on their reach. The third is Affinity Enrich, especially today, with the cookieless world coming up, a lot of brands are looking to see how they can use their first party data better, right? So how can first party data has suddenly acquired a lot of importance. So Affinity Enrich helps to really supercharge your first party data. Right? We can add multiple attributes on lifestyle and brand attributes to your first party data so that you could deliver better personalization to your target audience and target with more relevance. The fourth and the last is Affinity Intersect. This is again, this is a data-led insights tool that we have, which we believe delivers real world-class business value in the real world to marketers. So this is these are really our offerings in terms of audiences. We believe that our audiences are really very niche and granular and really help marketers to target their as per their campaign criteria, right? While you do have a lot of audience providers out there which are primarily based on demographics, as I said, we focus on human behavior. So we do not need any personal information. We do not track any PII data, but we are able to, identify your next new buyer. We are able to predict very effectively future purchase intent for brands as well as agencies which are running campaigns for all the brands out there. So that's about our offerings in a nutshell.
Brilliant, ma'am. Brilliant. So coming to like how you track data, how you understand the market. Like I want to know your personal idea because you are heading this beautiful company. So like, what's your idea on the current content consumption by people? Like you can generalize across all formats if you want, but how this content consumption is working currently from whatever you've observed.
Yeah, of course. You know what? Today, almost 4 billion users worldwide are on social media platforms. If you see, YouTube has really grown in terms of audience interest. You have platforms like TikTok, Spotify, again, frequented by probably the younger age group, right? Facebook, Instagram continue to be platforms where, old and young alike engage, right? You initially joined Facebook. I remember I joined it to kind of find your old friends, right? But today it has evolved into a lot more, right? You, are targeted even on social media for, based on the interests that you have. Similarly, Twitter, if you see, that's again a platform where people really express their views on a whole lot of subjects. So if you see from Affinity Answers, we are actually the only social data provider that provides access to engagement data from Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram. Okay, how does this really help? Right now, there were days when you do the traditional marketing, you do the spray and pray, as it was called. Okay, show the ad to everyone. If there are a few people who convert, or more people who convert, obviously that defines the success of the campaign. Today, it's a lot different. Especially with COVID and stuff, you see more and more people on online, right, on digital platforms. So programmatic has become very, very key. Programmatic media buying trends are really increasing, globally, and even marketers are today, increasing the budget that they allocate for programmatic versus your normal, traditional marketing methods, right? If you see connected TV, mobile, all this is becoming very, very predominant. But then again, what do you see even on social media? The attention span of people is very, it's decreasing. Right?
True.
So earlier, where you would watch an ad on TV, and really remember it, and have a lot of recall value about it, right? I mean, all of us still remember the Cadbury ad from yesteryears, where a lady runs onto the field, when the cricketer scores, right? Today, that ad has been redone. I'm sure you must have seen the latest one where the female and male have been interspersed. But just imagine the recall value that ad had, right? Today, the attention span of people is definitely decreasing, right? And so people are looking for more snackable content. So if you see Facebook stories, Instagram stories, are becoming more important. Video ads, right? Video
Yeah.
form ad is what really people like. The youngster population, of course, are all on TikTok and Spotify and so on. Maybe yes, definitely, the 45 plus category still look at newspaper and TV advertisements, but that's how social media trends and consumption is definitely increasing a lot.
True.
So I think as a data provider, we are fully geared up for this, boom we are seeing on social media, because just because of the massive data that we have, we track close to 250 million plus people across social media platforms, and about 50,000 to 60,000 brands and entities that they engage with. So that's like massive for us to really understand human behavior, right? And see how that can help marketers do more effective marketing and advertising and get a better return on their ad spend. Similarly, I think in social media, even the KPIs, marketers are really reevaluating their success KPIs as well. Right? It's all about, how many people visited your website after seeing your ad, how many actually converted, right? Again, influencer marketing, very big thing now.
Yeah. It's
So,
been like
yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, correct. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying, that, really social media has got a boost. And I think it has helped marketers a lot as well.
True, 100%. Like I've been able to hear that in India the influencer marketing is like currently it's around 900 crore rupees, the influencer marketing market, and now it is expecting to like grow till 2200 2500 by in upcoming 3 to 4 years. And also like the biggest change have come after the pandemic began, after the lockdown began in 2020. So from a digital marketing perspective, how has this COVID impacted you? Like first, because when we say 250 million was like almost 100% people, and now 250 million is also like okay, now 250 million is still big, but then it's like also more because more and more people are uh, joining in, more and more people are coming in. So how has it been for you in terms of providing data, in terms of getting data, in terms of tracking people and understanding the market, and how has market changed?
Yeah. So, COVID obviously has caught all of us unawares initially. In terms of collecting data, I think we benefited, right? Because
Mm,
more and more people moved online. You started watching online content, you are following, OTT streaming platforms. You're not able to go out, right? So,
yeah.
you explore many other platforms where you could, get information. In fact, even newspapers, you started reading online, right?
Mm,
So everything was going digital. Is that an opportunity for us? Yes, definitely, right? Because we are in the space of digital marketing specific to programmatic, right? So in terms of collection of data, or understanding human behavior, we were able to gather more information, get more insights into people engagement, because everyone was on these social media platforms. In that way,
true.
it definitely benefited us. Initial reaction, right, when COVID just struck, and the initial, I think, 6 months, it was a shift even for marketers, right? They
Mm,
now saw that, I mean, nobody's going out, so there are no conferences happening. Everything is virtual, right? So
yeah.
really, having a billboard ad, will it help? Not much, right? Because
True.
people have to be out to be really looking at that advertisement, nobody is, visiting malls, or nobody is visiting restaurants where, you have promotions happening and stuff like that, right?
True.
Even for ad shoots, I mean, we had a client who was, we were just going to provision an audience for their campaign, and he came back saying, hey, you know what, I'm not able to do the shoot with the actors because it's a lockdown, right? So initially, we did see a drop in campaign spend, in media spend, from marketers and advertisers. Everyone was being cautious, right? Even brands were like, okay, we really need to tread cautiously because nobody understood what's happening. Over a period, as people saw that, e-commerce was booming, everything you could buy online, people, I mean, including me, I love actually going to a shop and physically seeing things and buying. But now for the last 2 years, I do all my buying online, be it, my groceries, be it my clothes, be it gadgets, whatever, right? So you really saw that boom in terms of digital. And then marketers, realized that, okay, you know what, while they were doing a lot of digital marketing, search advertising, SEO and stuff, but how can I do more and more on these online platforms, especially, and if you want to use multiple platforms and still get a good return on your marketing spend, programmatic is the way for you. And that's where we then saw that, if you look at predictive statistics for 2021, in the APAC market, the spend on programmatic is expected to grow exponentially. Right? So it's just the right place to be in. So it's been advantageous for us both ways in terms of collecting data, because we, our entire offerings are based on social engagement behavior that we study of people. So if you have more people, so obviously your population that you're looking at is larger, right? So we had a benefit there, as well as today, as marketers realize the importance of digital marketing, getting more personalization for their audience, there again, it's benefiting us because more people are moving towards programmatic digital marketing.
True, 100%. So, like, coming to how you've been managing the whole structure, like, I just want to know that because there has been a big boom in even people coming up and creating content and feeling this trend, and you have been managing the whole team to lead that. How have you seen the shifts in trends? Like, not just limiting it to the Instagram where majorly young people are there, but also shift in trends overall across the internet. Uh, like, how do you identify that, okay, this is the current trend going, and then we can predict that, okay, the next trend of content consumption, of engagement, is going to be in XYZ kind of content or XYZ kind of category? How do you predict, and how do you assume that?
Okay, so one is that, in terms of content consumption, because, that's something which I think a media agency really focuses on, right? Because they do the entire life cycle of advertising, from identifying, what is going to be their campaign all about, designing the content for it, understanding where I need to publish my ads, and what is going to give me better return on my spend. So we really don't do any content because we really, only provide the audiences for you to target, or we, provide insights into human behavior, right? But in terms of, how across social content has evolved, like I said, attention spans have decreased. So people really, want to look at more of, pictorial and video based content. Okay. Similarly, when people are on social, right, we collect literally real time engagement that people do with certain brands, media and entertainment properties, celebrities, right? And what do we do with this data? We are not actually selling social data. We are using that data to understand behavior patterns, which is a learning which is done by our in-house patented model. We have a machine learning model called True Affinity, right? So the engagement behavior that we, kind of track and collect, right? All privacy compliant data, right? We are GDPR and CCPA compliant, as well as we were recently certified by Neutronian on our data quality, transparency, and collection methodology. So once we collect this engagement data, it is really like a training database for our model. And the True Affinity model works pretty much like a Netflix, or an Amazon. It's a recommender engine where, you watch a movie and then, Netflix prompts you, right? More movies in the same genre or, of the same actor and so on. So that's like a simple example I gave, but really the True Affinity model has the capability to be applied to any data set and identify act alike audiences from it. So that's how we put to use the social engagement data that we collect, and how it then helps our model to find, to really predict future purchase intent, as well as, how can brands maybe conquer their competitors. Okay, there may be who are the fence sitters who, if targeted in the right manner, can really switch over to your brand. And how can you also effectively use your sponsorships? Because we also follow people's engagement with a lot of celebrities and influencers, that also gives marketers insights into how they can really, amplify the power of their sponsorships, the celebrities that they're using. Is it the right celebrity that I'm using to sponsor my product, and so on. So that's really how, we utilize social engagement data and human behavioral patterns to identify audiences who behave in the same manner, and then they become, your target audience for the campaign that you have in hand.
Great, man. Great. So, ma'am, you have been in this leadership industry. You are in the digital marketing space. So, what would be your advices to people who are aspiring to be leaders, and also to people who want to explore the digital marketing space?
Yeah, so people in digital marketing, obviously, you have to be like full-fledged digital, right? In the sense that you need to really evolve your marketing strategies from the traditional methods to the more advanced methods in terms of programmatic media buying and so on, right? I think changing with the times, learning how the entire data space works. When I say data space works, okay, what is a data marketplace? How does a DSP work? What are the different DSPs out there? How can I really get benefit, better benefit on my ad spend? What are the success metrics that I'm looking for in my campaign, right? Those become like really, really key. So understanding your target audience. So as a digital marketer, if you are, looking at, okay, this is the audience that I want to target, should I really purely go by demographics? I think we've crossed that stage where demographic-based targeting will continue to work. It will work in some cases, right? Like, for example, we recently worked with a huge international bank on a campaign of theirs, and they wanted to target, affluent people. who would subscribe to their wealth management product, right? Now, a demographic, targeting will typically look for, oh, okay, affluence means households with an income of X rupees, right? An annual income of X rupees and plus. Okay, we don't go that route, so we are not at all into demographics. We rather look at how can we identify people having a high affinity towards wealth management products, be it through their engagement with different wealth management products of other banks. Okay, so who are the competitors that this campaign could target, the competitor audiences, to get them to switch over to this offering, right? Similarly, are there any wealth management and like websites, right, like Money Control and so on, where we can understand that these people, in terms of their affinity, have a high affinity towards certain financial websites. Who are the people who dabble in a lot of financial investments, right? Who are the ones who look for portfolio management? See, obviously, if you have a huge income and a large portfolio, that's where you look for a portfolio manager, right? So these are the different proxies or entities that we use to assess an affluent audience. And through this campaign, actually, the brand came back to us and said they had got better results from our audience that we provision for them than the usual demographic approach that they have used in the past. So you can see how, as a digital marketer, you really need to know the nuances of programmatic. Though, of course, in the US and in Europe, programmatic is far, far better evolved than in the APAC region. But even in APAC, you'll see countries like Australia and New Zealand pretty advanced in terms of programmatic understanding. Similarly, Japan, China, India, moving a lot towards programmatic. Singapore, Malaysia. So everyone is looking really for the right way to target people, be it on social, be it on connected TV, on mobile apps, and how can they really do it really very effectively. So I think a budding digital marketer needs to advance with the times, need to look at innovative ways of targeting the right audience, look at options for what kind of data is available in the market, right? Especially with Google saying that they want to move away from the cookies, access to cookies to everyone, right? Then what are the innovations that marketers can do to still take advantage of targeting the right people in a cookieless landscape as well? So that's, I think, what the digital marketers of today need to focus on.
True. And some advices for aspiring leaders who want to understand how to become a good leader like you and want to have a great career like you.
Okay, so yeah, I think, like I said, you evolve into being a good leader. You take the right opportunities. Okay, you never shy away from opportunities, even if it means taking risks. Okay, and I think all along, I have taken risks with every career move that I've made, right? Like I said, I joined Symphony, and I had never worked in the technology world. That was my first stint. And I joined them to actually grow the operations division. So I said, yeah, I mean, I may be a accountant or whatever, finance person by education, but I'm sure I can learn whatever I need to really manage even an environment where technology is predominant, right? So how do you blend with that? Similarly, like I said, taking up the right opportunities, taking risks. Of course, the right ones, right? It's not like, okay, you know what, I quit my job and then say, okay, I'm taking the risk of quitting the job and then I'll find something which I want to do. Following your passions, right? I think early on in your career itself, you really know what is it that you really want to do, right? And I feel I'm a good people person. So if you want to be a good leader, you have to be a very good people person, right? You have to engage with your team constantly, give them the right directions, help them improve their career. So how do you focus? A leader is focused on their team's career development, and when that happens, you automatically do better because your team
True.
does well. You also that glory reflects on you as well, right?
True.
So I think, yeah, that would be my advice. Choose the right opportunities, constantly upskill yourself, constantly learn, right? There's really no age to start or stop learning. You
True.
When you
100%.
evolve yourself constantly and you are moving with the changing times, you will do well, right? So
True.
yeah, that would be my advice. Really, I think I'm still learning, right? Like I said, this domain is something new to me as well. And so yeah, I mean, experiencing a lot of the things that life has to offer you, looking at things in the right perspective is very important for you to also motivate your team to do well.
True. 100%. 100%. So, coming to the end of this mind blowing podcast, I would like to know your feedback or your suggestions on this whole conversation.
See, actually, Jay, when I first, saw an earlier podcast of yours, which you had done, I think with my friend who's an entrepreneur, I was really, impressed with the way that the willingness that you have to kind of do something which is obviously quite something outside your comfort zone, right? Now you are studying, you are also doing some work on your own, and at the same time devoting time for something like this, to help people out there in the world is really amazing. When I first spoke to you, again, I remember I told my son, he's probably the same age as you, right? I mean, he is a CA and he works currently with a startup, right? So I told him that, it's really amazing the youngsters of today, what diverse things they want to do. And I was telling him about you as to how at this young age you are really, running these shows, the Jay Thakkar show, and talking to so many people, whatever learnings you're getting, you're willing to share it with everyone, right? And sharing knowledge always helps to grow your knowledge. So that's my feedback. I think you're doing an amazing job, and you're not restricting yourself to just one topic or one thing. You're talking to diverse uh, professionals across different fields, right? So I think it's a great job you're doing. I really must applaud the commitment you have, right, and the motivation you have to carry this uh, initiative forward. It's not again, doing shows, public speaking is a skill that is developed over time, and you're doing a great job, Jay. I'm
Thank you
proud of
so
you.
much. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to get this good wishes from a uh, like from the person whom we generally aspire to become like. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. It's really been pleasure and an honor to have you on the show, ma'am. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge on digital marketing and knowledge on leadership so that people from both the field, people who are aspiring to become a leader in general, to people who actually want to learn and understand the digital marketing field. All of them gets a lot of insights and learning from you.
Thank you so much, Jay, for taking the time. It was an absolute pleasure being on the show. And I will stay in touch and
Sure,
we'll catch up soon. Thank you so much again.
sure, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank
Good
you so much.
wishes to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.